Hi everyone, this is Kirti, currently final year electrical engineering student pursuing my BTech from National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar. In my final year I got offer from Amex, Samsung, Amazon, and now I recently got an offer from Microsoft. So I am here to share my experience, my journey to crack Microsoft actually. So about Microsoft. Microsoft is an American international firm which is among the top three IT firms, I would say. So, talking about their businesses, the Windows you use, the GitHub you use to deploy your code, the VS Studio you use, the offices setup, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, the MS Team, all such things, all these big softwares are from Microsoft only. And there are many more. It's just an exhaustive list going on. So talking about my process, how I got an opportunity from Microsoft, what was the eligibility criteria? So in the month of November, I got contacted from one of the recruiters. I got an email stating that this is the job opening we are having for 2022 batch, and it would be great if you could apply for it. And imagine a fresher getting an email from one of the recruiters of Microsoft. It's a big thing. So I did apply. The eligibility criteria for the application was that you need to have a CGPA 7.5 plus. You must be from Circuital branch, which involve IC, EC, CS, IT, EC. And apart from that, you must be good at data structures and algorithm. I'll quote it again, data structures and algorithm. Yeah, so this was pretty much about the eligibility. Let's jump into the process part. So my process started in the first week of December. It was a coding round followed by 3 interviews. So the coding round was in the first week of December. The platform where the coding round happened was Codility. That's the platform where Microsoft always hosts their coding rounds. It was a 90-minute test. It consisted of only two DSA questions. So, talking about the topics that the questions were based on, so it was mix of concepts. So I got a question which was mix of two different concepts, which was sorting and linked list. So I don't remember the details, but yeah, talking about the basic idea, it was like you need to merge k different linked list and while sorting them also. So you need to maintain the minimum cost to merge the k different linked list which are sorted. And the second question was based on graph. So it was kind of minimum distance problem. You need to find the minimum distance. I do not exactly remember the details, but these were the concept which it touched. In the month of January, I got a mail from Microsoft stating that I have cleared my coding round and now it's time for me to give the interview, the real test. So my round one was scheduled in the mid of January. It was tech round. The interviewer was, you would say, a 16 years experienced person who is working in Microsoft. So he was the head of one of business units. So the interview started. It was scheduled for 45 minutes, and it started with him introducing, and then he asked me to introduce myself. Then we started discussing upon one of my projects, which is Smart Infant Bed. So it's an ML related project plus a team project. So the concepts he covered was that he wanted to know about how deep I am into that project. So he asked me which algorithm do I use to, how that algorithm actually worked, a bit of deep into the technical discussion. And then he asked me some of the leadership questions like was it your team project, or if it was a team project, what was your individual contribution, how did you manage to uh, uh, make up through the circumstances while working in a team. So all such questions. It was around a 30-minute deep discussion, and then he throwed up a DSA question. So the question was for every node in a tree, and the tree was a binary tree, for every node in a tree you need to find the rightmost node. So pretty much logic is pretty much simple. It was a level order traversal question. I coded it. I asked him, like, while he put up the question, I asked him few questions like how is the input going to be, and what parameters do the function will take. So what are the parameters do the function will take, and it was like more of my knowledge about the inputs so that I could code well. And then I asked him, do I have to code from the scratch, like from the start of taking the input to writing the function, or do I need to write only the function? So he told me you write only the function part. And yeah, I did wrote it, and he was pretty much satisfied. Then he asked me, do I have questions for him? Obviously I do have, because he was from Bing team. So I asked him, what cutting edge technologies do you use to improve the search engine? How is Edge improving, Microsoft Edge improving day by day? So all these questions, and it was like more of a conversation between two people. So it went for around 15 minutes, and then the interview ended. So this was about my first round. Then after a week or so, I got a mail from the interviewer stating that from the HR stating that I have been shortlisted for the round two. That is also a tech round. So my round two got scheduled in the first week of January, and the interviewer was an SD2 level person. So he was quite young with the stream, but he was sweet, I would say. He started with his introduction, then he asked me to introduce myself. Then he asked me a question that how would I rate myself on a scale of 5 in terms of my coding skills. So I told him that I would rate myself as 3.5, because I do have that vision. I do have worked that way, that I can visualize from the question what concept you need to touch upon. But sometimes I feel it difficult to write it. But then again, it is a matter of practice. I am improving day by day, and every day you get to learn a lot. So this was my answer. And then he asked me a simple question. So he framed the question like, you are a spy for Microsoft, and you get a message which is decoded. The message is in the form of string, which is a sentence, and every word is reversed. So now it's your task as a spy to encode it. Encode means that you need to reverse every word into the right order. So firstly, the inputs were very simple. Like there would be only alphabets in the word, and there would be only single spaces between each word. So I wrote the solution for it. Then he told me that now think of a situation where there could be multiple spaces and there could be numbers also. Now you need to write it. So I wrote it again. Then he told me that stop using STL. You need to write your own reverse function, and you do not use any of the additional spaces. So even if you're storing your answer, you need to do it in the string itself. So that was quite challenging, but I did it. And he was quite impressed. So he asked me to have questions for him. So I told him that I got to know that you work in this field. So he was part of the UI side, more of UI team. So he was working with the web, so he told his experience. Then he gave me a suggestion that, look, you are a fresher, so don't stick to a specific technology. It's your time to explore, so explore as much as you can when you join us, when you join the Microsoft. And he simply asked me which location you are going to choose, either Hyderabad, Noida, Bangalore. So the interview went on like, yeah, you are getting the offer. He indirectly pointed out, and the interview ended over here. Uh, 2 weeks later, since the Microsoft hiring team was busy with some work, so they mailed me earlier that we will be having a delay for your third round. So 2 weeks later, I got an email from them that, yeah, your third round is scheduled. Uh, and it would be a managerial round, but the tables turned around. Actually, my third round went as a tech round, not the managerial round. So they specifically call this round as AA round. as appropriate, because it will be the round where the interviewer will only say yes or no, whether he is going to hire you or not hire you. So this is this round, and you get to this round only when you get two higher flags from previous rounds. So if the previous interviewer says hire, then only you get chance to do this interview. So the interview was scheduled to be of 45 minutes, but it went on to 75 minutes. So what happened was that it started, he asked me a quick introduction, and then he threw up a coding question to me. The question was like, I need to find the start and end index of a contiguous sub array in an array which has the maximum sum. So it was quite easy problem. Kadane would work for it. So I told him that the brute force approach would be to use two loops, but it would not be production friendly code. So you should use an O of n approach, which is Kadane's algorithm. So I wrote the code in just 20 minutes, I would say, and it worked on. Then he threw me another question. He told me that suppose you have a list of gas stations, and every gas station is at a certain distance from another gas station. Now you need to find a start point, a point from where you are going to start, and traverse all the gas stations and come back to that point in such a way that you would never be out of fuel on your way. So the question was quite related to, I would say, queue data structure. It was just the functioning of queue data structure. So I told him the logic. He was confident that you can code it. So I coded. But what happened was that my logic was right, but I was using a compiler which was very old. Do not use a compiler which was very old during your interview. So what happened that I was taking the inputs in form of a vector of pair, but the compiler didn't actually, it was old, so the input was not stored in right way, so I was not getting the right answer. So it cost me few minutes to debug that part, that why input is getting wrong. Then I got to this point that it's because of the compiler. So yeah, he was satisfied with my code. Then he asked me why Microsoft. So I told him Microsoft is a dream for me because I have heard a lot about it. I have heard here that people learn, grow. There is a collaborative effort. You are the leading firm, and every fresher wants to start to that with that firm. And then he asked me, do I have a question? So since he didn't introduce himself during the start of interview, so I asked him directly, you didn't introduce yourself. Can you introduce yourself so that I get to know from which team you are? I might have questions with that. So I asked him, and he was very humble and sweet. He introduced himself, and then he was actually the product manager, the project manager, I would say. And he was from cloud division. So I asked him actually that how exactly Microsoft gets the power of running such a big, where all other firms are running, on the top of which all other firms are running. So most of the firms might be using the cloud. So he told me about it in a deep, like we have three layers, and this way the things work. And then he gave me a little feedback that I liked that you wrote the code very neatly. You were clear with the variable name and the spaces. Even person could see it really clearly. But one thing which I would suggest, that you were quite confident with the logic in the first shot. But when you go into the professional world, with time you will learn that your logic might get wrong when you write it in the first shot. So this was the feedback which I got him, and which I appreciate, because very less often you find interviewers giving you feedback without asking. So that was really cool. So the third round got completed with that, and I got a mail 2 days after that I have got the offer from Microsoft, and I was on the cloud nine. I would say this is the dream come true. Uh, Now let's move on to my journey. I would say how I got like myself this much confidence that yes, I can crack Amazon, I can crack Microsoft, I can crack Amex or Samsung. So My journey was quite simple. I was like determined from my first year itself that I wanted to go into IT. So I leveraged my first year to connect with my seniors who were about to get placed or who already got placed, and ask him actually how this thing of placement works, how companies do hire, what do they generally see in the employees. And two things I got from there: one is you must be good at tech, but the important part is you should be good at communication also. So even if you know the answer to the question, but if you don't know how to express it, that is a failure. So this is the thing I learned from my first year. Then in the summers of my first year, I explored a few techs like ML, WebD, and other stuff. And after that, in my second year, I restricted myself towards working only in the DSA. So I improved my DSA as much as I can. And at the end of second year, I got two internships. So basically, I wanted to learn more about the tech side, how actually at the higher level, production level code works. So I did two internships. One was with a startup called Geek Squad, and another one was also with a startup which is Frico. So the first internship was more of based on Django. The second internship was more of based on Angular. I got a good knowledge of how the web development framework works, and I feel confident about that. Then in my third year, I started working on the project Smart Infant Bed, which was under my professor, Dr. Hari Morgan, and it was a team project. And from there on, I started learning about machine learning, and I got interested into that field. So I started working over my skills in the field of machine learning, and which is I'm still working, and I would say I would be working 5 years after that also. So this is a self-learning process which will continue on. And in final year, at the start itself, I got an offer from Amex. So that was my first offer when I set for the placement. But it's like I didn't stop working because I always wanted to do more and more and more. Always wanted to go to the fan part. So I started DSA. Like I didn't stop doing DSA. I started doing it even more after getting MX. So I got an offer from Samsung Bangalore. Then I got an offer from Amazon, and now you would say I got an offer from Microsoft. Now I feel that yeah, I got my point. I got my destination. It's time for me to get into Microsoft. The tips and tricks for cracking Microsoft. So Microsoft is uh, Microsoft is the firm which is looking for employee in long run. So if you are committed towards getting into Microsoft, three things you need to remember. One is good at tech skills, which includes DSA, computer fundamentals, and obviously the tech part, which is ML or WebD. You must have a good project, right? The second is your communication skills. The more you express yourself, the more are your chances of the more you give interviewer the chances of getting to know you. And the third thing is be true to yourself. So while you are giving interview, if you don't know anything, don't blabber anything, I would say. Just be true to the interview. I don't know, I will be learning it. I will be learning it in the future. So that gives an impression of how ethical you are and how you are going to be good for your firm. Yeah, so these are the short tips and tricks. Again, thanks Aim2crack team for giving me the opportunity to express it in front of such a large audience. I wish all the best to all the people who are in the path of getting an offer or who are still struggling, but I know you will get it. And you can reach me to the LinkedIn through LinkedIn anytime. My LinkedIn link will be available on the talks page of aim2crack.in. All the best, guys. Thank you.